Well, here we are for the second podcast. And what I'd like to talk today a bit about is the inner child. Back in March, up until March, I was doing a series of presentations and workshops on the inner child. There was actually six of them, and I did them in different locations in around Southern Ontario. Anyway, as of March, all that stopped. So this is what I am doing now, this website and these podcasts and these interviews that I'm going to be doing, which will elevate my inner child workshops and the addiction counseling that I do to a whole new level. So anyway, so to begin with, I want to define what exactly is the inner child. What are we talking about? In the first of the six inner child workshops I did, and this was a handout. I don't know. I guess you can't see it too well, but anyway, on the first page, I define what is an inner child, and I'll just read the definition from the dictionary. A person's supposed original or true self, especially when regarded as damaged or concealed by negative childhood experiences. And I think that's a really good definition of the inner child. It's the true self, the person that we really are. And I think it's really well expressed when we contrast it with the false self that we create to present to the world. And many of us understand that. But I know myself. When I was a little kid, when I was, say, 3 to 4, 5, I was a smart kid. I was a sensitive kid, very sensitive. And when you're sensitive, it just means you're more prone to being hurt. And I definitely was. But I was also an iconoclast even at that age, which means I think outside of the box. I always have, always did. But anyway, I just ran into so much criticism, so much pain when I was just a little guy. I was told in no uncertain terms that I was to be seen and not heard, that my expressions were not welcome, and my own personal thoughts were wrong. And that was so painful. I mean, you have no idea how painful that was. It was like a knife going through my heart. So, anyway, by the time I was 5 years old, I had become shame, meaning I felt there was something wrong with me. And when I was started in kindergarten, some kids would laugh at me. And that was so painful. And so I just didn't want to be there. So how was I going to survive? The only thing I knew, and that was to go into hiding, but to create a false self to present to the world. And that false self was a big part of it was becoming a people pleaser. So, like, if I said certain things to my parents, they would smile. And if I was taken to church and I just agreed with everything, they too would smile. And when I started going to school, if I just parroted what the teachers were telling me, they would say, well, that's fine. But the only problem was it wasn't the real me. It was the false me I was presenting to the world. And inside was this hurt, this shame that I didn't know who to talk to or what to do with. And anyway, as the years roll by, I kind of think this is normal. You just tell people what they want to hear. Because if they knew what you were really thinking and feeling, they would castigate you. They would criticize you severely. They would hate you. They would ignore you. They would abandon you. And and so why take a chance? Play it safe and tell them what they want to hear. And this just became natural behavior. I think this is such an important issue that we're dealing with because this shame, this trauma that we experience is really the very essence of addiction and codependence. And if we're going to heal, we've got to deal with this. We've got to come to terms with this. And I know it took me a long time to be able to connect the dots and to realize why I became an addict. why I became codependent. So I guess the question that the next question is, well, how do you recover? How do you get your identity back? Well, I this is only a small part of what I'm going to be talking about over the next weeks and months in my presentations, workshops, and blogs and interviews. But anyway, um, the skinny on it is the first thing is you have to become aware. I mean, when you're recovering from anything, the big thing is the first thing is awareness, because if you're not aware, you can't do anything. So just to be able to connect the dots and become aware of what happened to us. And another big part of recovery is community. I mean, I think most of us who have struggled with addictions, and I know it's so true for me, we tried to do it on our own. We figured I'm smart, I can figure it out. And we didn't want to come out of hiding and ever tell anybody what we were really feeling or how hurt we were or what we were thinking, because we knew we just couldn't do that. So we tried to do it alone and we just went further down the rabbit hole. But to recover, we need other people. And there's been so many people in my life, and I'll be talking about a lot of these people and what they said to me, what they told me, and what I learned from them, and how that played such a big part in my recovery. And just by the way, the definition is recovery is to get back something that you have lost. So a big part of recovery from addictions or codependence is to get back what we lost, which is our true selves. And this is such an amazing journey. And the next thing is one other thing that's so important, that's willing to do whatever it takes. You know, half measures. There's an expression from AA, and it's a beautiful expression. It says, half measures availed us nothing. And that's so true. A half-assed attitude is going to probably get you nowhere. I know it did me anyway. So you got to be really passionate. You got to really want it. And you got to do everything that within your power to whether it's recover or whether it's to get your true self back. And for me, this has been the greatest journey I've ever been on, is just becoming me, becoming the real me like I am right now. I couldn't have said these things or talked about these things years ago, 4 or 5 years ago, but now I'm having a lot of fun doing it. And the more I do it, the easier it gets. So anyway, just a few more things, but Gabor Mate, who I've been studying a lot of, he said, the essence of recovery is finding yourself again. And he's been very instrumental in helping many, many people on the road to recovery and understanding the very nature of addiction and codependency, which is childhood trauma and shame. So anyway, and I want to read one more thing from another one of a person that's had a big influence on my life, and you probably can't see that either, but that's from Deepak Chopra, and he says, "Your future is generated by the choices you are making every moment of your life," and that is so true and so profound. The choices you are making every second that you're alive. And so, anyway, uh, I'm going to be talking a lot about these things. This is kind of like the essence of a lot of my podcasts and a lot of my presentations, workshops, is the relation between shame, trauma, and addictions, codependency, and getting our real selves back, becoming the people we were meant to be. And it's the greatest, most exciting journey I think any of us could ever do. But anyway, I think that's the skinny on what the inner child is. So I hope I explained that. But anyway, always, 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 always question. And there's a better way. Find it. And wherever you're at, as long as you're conscious, and just always choose greatness. And finally, the most important thing is remember that your destiny is a choice. a choice that only you can make.